I've got Big Boa and I cannot lie. Hey, let's unbox this guy. Out of the box, he doesn't have his accessories on or his helmet, but I wanted just to get a feel for this character before we started going any further in the review. Now, Big Boa, if you're not familiar, is one of Cobra's trainers. This is supposed to be a really tough guy. For people who are new to G.I. Joe, or G.I. Joe Classified for that matter, the fact that he doesn't have a helmet on might not seem weird to you, but for people who have experience with G.I. Joes or remember playing with them as a kid, this might be like, hey, who is this guy? Because he looks vaguely familiar, but not quite like I remember him. And that's thanks to the fact that he has this alternate helmet, which people are more familiar with. And if you look at his face, you can notice that a tooth is missing. That's because he is a boxer. He comes with some boxing gloves in the accessory kit as well. So let's get a little closer look at this figure because there are some really interesting details that we haven't seen in G.I. Joe, or G.I. Joe Classified for that matter, as far as I can tell. Is the blood on his hand wraps there. It's a really visceral look for G.I. Joe, which makes sense. I mean, this is about two warring factions. The fact that we've really kind of seen like a sanitized version of war for most of G.I. Joe's run, and that we're getting a little bit of that kind of hint at violence on these knuckle wraps is very interesting. But let's take a look at the character overall. Let's see how he moves, see how he flexes. So the up, the down, and this is just his standard head. We're going to get to his helmet in just a little bit. He doesn't really have like a side to side. Up and down is okay. He has some butterfly joints, which I would say are kind of limited, which, you know, I'm a little disappointed in because he's a boxer. He's going to want to have that really long reach. Does have pinned joints, which is, again, unusual at this point for G.I. Joe Classified. The hand sculpts really look good, though. I think that's like a really nice standout feature that I can recognize right away. This spiky body harness, which is a very classic feature for Big Boa, looks really great. And again, like Ripper the Dreadnought, yeah. They're very spiky, so watch your fingers, like it does kind of hurt. He has that T crunch in the abs, which, you know, look like he could take a nice punch like that. And the legs are pinless. He's a very big figure. And the double joints work there. The double joints work there. And the ankles feel really good. He's got a boot cut, so his legs can swivel. We've got a boxer here, so you would expect that. And so that's kind of the base figure. If you look at him just like this, like, is that all to him? But no, we're going to pop on the helmet head because that's, you know, I really don't see me displaying him with just his normal non-helmeted head, so let's just pop that off. And we can take a look at the head, and I think a lot of the restriction of the movement is that barbell joint in the head there, so I'm guessing we're going to see very similar results with the helmeted head, and wouldn't you know, we do. But as I'm looking at him, the helmet looks almost like a little too small. Like if we put these heads side by side right here, I guess it looks a little more in proportion when I do put them side by side. It just feels a little small. Maybe it's just because he's a massive figure. He's like one of the bigger builds, and I just wasn't expecting that. But the helmet does look good. There's like some slight fading of the paint in the center, which I don't know if is intentional or not, but it does kind of give it a cool effect. I will say, it's like almost like one of those Cylon eyes or something like that. The wrapped hands look good on this character. It gives him a nice update, but I want to see what the boxing gloves look like, so let's just pop off one of the hands and see what that does for us. The boxing gloves come in two parts. There's this wrap for around the wrist, and then there is the boxing glove itself. And if everything kind of goes together right, that is a nice layered look if we got to get a look at that. Boxing gloves look really good on Big Boa here, and the fact that it has the Cobra logo right there means that Cobra's doing a really good job at branding. The paint details on the boxing gloves are really clean and well done too, I'm noticing. There is no spillage from what I can tell on this boxing glove. I think at this point what we're going to have to do is take him over to the table and get his other boxing glove on and see his other accessories, because yes, he does have other accessories if you remember right before he was unboxed. So let's get a closer look at Big Boa. Here we have Big Boa up close, and here you can see the head sculpt quite a bit better. There's some 5 o'clock shadowing right here around the cheeks, and if you kind of can see, he's got like a very bewildered look, like he's got punched in the head few too many times. This spiked harness, again, very classic Big Boa. And then as we move down, he's a very plain figure. Here's a better look at those hand wraps. You can see some of the splattering effect there. It's really interesting. Again, something brand new for the G.I. Joe Classified series. This is something Valaverse has been doing, I believe with the character what was it, Pandora or something like that. A lot of, kind of splatter. It was like a special edition. Looks like the G.I. Joe team is trying that out here as well. Not really crazy about this face sculpt, so let's just pop it off, and we will go to our weapons wall here and put his helmet on. And there we have Big Boa with the helmet. And again, this is something that I'm going to keep on him from now on. The reason being is that this is just a more classic look. It looks more menacing, and it looks very Cobra. Whereas the face sculpt here just looks like he's been concussed. And for somebody who's a boxer trainer, I think that kind of fits. But again, the helmet is really where Big Boa starts to shine, and he starts to have a unique personality on his own. With that, of course, he does need the boxing gloves, and we will put those on him as well. Trying to see how these operate. So this part right here is just the hand, and this cuff slots over that. What this does is it creates a nice layered effect. This could have been molded on pretty easily, but it wouldn't have been as flexible. I really like this system here, even though it might be an extra piece to lose. I don't think I'm going to have that problem, though, because I'm just going to keep the boxing gloves on him along with the helmet. Show you how easy it is to put on there, and there's this half circle that looks like it's strapped on, and that is a great look for Big Boa. Now we just need to get the other hand. Here's his dumbbells, and either they are 6-pound weights or 90-pound weights. I'm thinking they're probably the 90-pound weights. And they will not fit into his boxing hands, which makes sense. Like, your hand is closed, it's in a fist. They will fit in his wrapped hands, and to show you exactly how that works, this is a nice solid grip. He doesn't have the trigger finger, so you're not contending with that extra space that kicks out. This is a good solid grip on these dumbbells. Which, all things considered, this is a really great accessory to have within the G.I. Joe classified line. A lot of these guys are commandos. They're supposed to be training and having some weights that look realistic. Like, these aren't the Meowscles Fortnite Victory Royale Edition weightlifting bench. These are some beefy looking dumbbells that you could definitely work out with. Let me just move him to the side here, and we will put an actual picture of the classic Big Boa so you can just see how similar, how different they are, where they upgraded. Just kind of a nice look at both of them side by side. One thing, as I play around with him, I'm wishing that he had a better range of motion with those butterfly joints. To do some big crossovers with his punches would have been nice, just to have that extra range of motion, and I don't think this harness would have got in the way too terribly much. And it does fit rather well. It doesn't slide around like we see with some of the belts with the G.I. Joe Classified series, and the paint application on it looks really well done. If we can get a really close look at those buckles, I don't see any sort of paint slop. It looks really good all the way around. As I get to my final thoughts, let's put him in some poses, see what he can do, and we'll wrap it up from there. Sound good? All right, Big Boa, let's go. When it comes to Big Boa, there's just something missing, and I can't quite put my finger on it. And it's not that he's like a goofier figure, because in fact, if I had to pick kind of from the G.I. Joe Classified line some of my favorites, it's probably the goofier characters. So this is kind of a confusing one for me, and there's really no overall, like I would say, huge deficiencies. I mean, this is a rock-solid figure, no loose joints, and there were no stiff joints. It's kind of like the Goldilocks of an action figure, especially something that you would want for a character who's a very physical fighter. The only issue that I can point to with Big Boa is that his butterfly joints just don't extend far enough as I was expecting, but that really shouldn't tank the overall impression of this figure. There's just something that's not resonating with me personally. I appreciate all of the attention to detail. I love the fact that they included his helmet, which is the way that I'm going to display him, because that's just Big Boa to me. And there's some areas where they did a little classified makeover, even though he is a fairly faithful recreation of Big Boa of G.I. Joe past. So you gotta let me know your thoughts about Big Boa in the comment section, because that's all I've got for you today about him. And if you are looking for more information about G.I. Joes, if you're looking for more information about toys and collectibles, pop culture things, and of course foam dart blasters like Nerf, be sure to follow along. And if you're in a position to help this channel grow, I have channel memberships here on YouTube starting at 99 cents a month. And anybody who can contribute gets some special behind the scenes looks at the video making process. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.